What is up everyone, and welcome to some more F1 23 My Team Career Mode. Last time out, we were at the Monaco Grand Prix, and after a solid qualifying in P5, we managed to jump one position at the start, and we took a P4 finish at the flag. So yeah, after a difficult few races, we finally managed to work our way back into the points, and well, we scored good points, 12 points. We didn't move up much in the constructors. I think we're in P8, which is still a couple positions where we need to be. But if we can continue having good performances over the next couple of races, then who knows, maybe we could make up a few more positions and get into that target position of P6 for the sponsorship bonus. This time we are going to be at the Spanish Grand Prix. And yeah, I think that we have the potential to do very well here. We qualified in the top 4 here, if I'm not mistaken, last season when we were in a very uncompetitive car. And now we have what is the 5th fastest car on the grid behind Aston Martin, Red Bull, Haas and Mercedes. So yeah, theoretically, we have a very, very good chance of getting a good result here, at least in the points, at minimum, really, I think is got to be the target here. We've got a new chassis facility upgrade, which will allow us to invest in some more chassis upgrades. We can't afford any of them just yet, but I imagine after practice here in the Spanish Grand Prix weekend, we should be able to afford at least one of them. It looks like it's going to be dry for the whole weekend as well, which is good because I usually struggle quite a lot in the rain. I think I briefly glimpsed there on the performance index that it seems that we are no longer top 5. I think we've been pushed down maybe by 1 car or something like that. But that is, you know, that's fine. It's not a big deal. Hopefully we can still get into the points. You know, even when we were not a particularly competitive car earlier this season, we were still, you know, qualifying high up the order and finishing quite high up the order. Obviously China was the exception to that. I just had no pace in China, but hopefully we can do pretty well here. We're getting ready to get into practice here. We're looking at I believe that is Nico Hulkenberg. I'm not sure on the helmets. And yeah, we ended up finishing P12, which wasn't terrible. Magnussen, the podium man from Monaco, topped the session. And you know, I'm not too disappointed with the P12, especially considering we were only on the medium tyres. I think we'll probably be competing for the fringe positions of the points if I had to guess, based on that sort of performance. You know, maybe we can sort of get maybe an 8th or something like that. Just grab a few points here and there should be fine in our battle for P6 in the championship. Just as long as, you know, it's not a super tight field, I think we should be absolutely fine. You can see that we are the worst team in the chassis department at the moment, but hopefully with a few of these upgrades on the car, we should be able to make our way up the order and get through, you know, into one of the becoming at least a sort of midfield level chassis team. You know, it's kind of hard to explain what I mean, but I think you get basically what I'm saying. But yeah, anyway, after all of that, we've got those upgrades on the car. That's all sorted. It's now time for us to get into qualifying for the Spanish Grand Prix. And yeah, I mean, we qualified very well here last year. I think the target has to be probably more than Q3 now, I would say. Maybe like top 7 or something like that, I think has got to be the goal here. And yeah, we'll see what we can do. We want a fresh set of soft compound tyres to kick things off. We crossed the line. It's a 1:12.4. Definitely some improvement to be found on that one. That was only marginally faster than my best time in practice, if I'm not mistaken. So, and that was on a set of medium tyres. So definitely we've got a bit more time to find here. But we actually went out on the same set of tyres again and managed to find a bit of improvement. You know, managed to find about 3/10 on the same set of tyres. So that was pretty impressive. I wasn't really expecting that we were going to be able to improve on a set of used tyres, but we ended up getting 6th in the session, so I was pretty happy with that. And yeah, hopefully we can continue that form into Q2, and hopefully that will go well. Kevin Magnussen is out in Q1 after that amazing heroic performance in Monaco. He joined Stroll, Sargent, De Vries, Hauger and Fittipaldi in the drop zone, and yeah, having finished P2 in Monaco, he'll be starting from 17th, barring any grid penalties further up the order in the Spanish Grand Prix. So yeah, how quickly the night changes. And Hulkenberg was only 16th there as well. But anyway, we make our way into Q2, and you can see that we are on another fresh set of soft compound tyres. we're going to cross the line. It's going to be into the 111s this time, a 111.9. I do think that there was a bit more improvement to be had there if I had to guess, but we went fastest initially, but I do think we will be knocked off that spot pretty sharply. And indeed, you can see that by the time we ran the final corner, or the final few corners, we're down into 7th, and people are improving quite quickly, so we do need to improve on this lap. Again, I was on a used set. We crossed the line to take a 111.5 on a used set of tyres is really, really quite strong. A very good lap from me on those used tyres, clearly, because, yeah, we've only used 2 sets so far, and that was a, what, P4 finish? Yeah, so we're through very comfortably again, and it looks like we're potentially a contender for sort of top 3 here, if I had to guess, based on the performance we've shown so far. Piastri, Albon, Gasly, Zhou, Tsunoda, and Ocon were eliminated on this occasion, and yeah, we're looking pretty good here, I would have to say. Maybe we're looking like, yeah, sort of top 5 material or something like that. We'll have to wait and see what Q3 holds. Sometimes we go better, sometimes we go worse. We have to consider that my best time was set on a used set of tyres, though, and that was a 111.5. So theoretically, I should be able to do like a 111.2 or something like that here. And I mean, I don't know if that's going to be good enough for pole position or not. I guess we'll find out. But yeah, we're going to round the final couple of corners now on another fresh set of soft compound tyres as we get into Q3, and we'll see what kind of time we can do. We're going to cross the line. It's a 111.4, and it's good enough for provisional pole, which is pretty nice. Okay, so yeah, all we have to do is just try and improve on that one a little bit, and maybe we can even get pole position here. Who knows? But it gets even better than that. I didn't even have to improve. By the time I finished my second flying lap on another set of soft compound tyres, I already knew I was getting pole position. Nobody was able to beat me with their second run. I improved down to a 111.0, and it was good enough for pole position. So I'm very, very happy with that. Maybe Mark a little bit happier than I am there. But yeah, 5/10 ahead of the nearest driver.
Robinson, Russell, and Max Verstappen. Goodbye for now then, but we are really just getting started. Make sure you join us again for Lights Out tomorrow.
I was a second and a half faster than the Ferraris. That is some serious pace coming out from us there. If we can continue carrying that pace into the race, we could win for the first time in Formula 1. I don't want to jinx it, but that is some serious pace right there. 5/10 faster than the nearest car. 5/10 faster than the reigning world champion. How on earth have I managed to pull that off? I promise you, we're still on 96. I haven't decreased the difficulty any further than I should have. But clearly, you know, Spain turning into a very solid track for me, at least in terms of quali performance. You know, I don't know if the race pace is there. I wonder if we're going to have a repeat of China. But unlike China, that was not a fluke pole position. That was pure pace that net me that pole position. So I am very, very satisfied with that result, and we will see if we can do even more to try and win for the first time, improve on our best ever finish of P3 at Las Vegas last year, and see if we can get ourselves a race win in the Spanish Grand Prix.
Circuit of Barcelona Catalunya has been on the calendar for over 30 years now, and it has served up some classics. Michael Schumacher's first win for Ferrari in 1996 in the rain. We have much better weather here today for the Spanish Grand Prix. The Circuit of Barcelona Catalunya runs to 2.9 miles. It's a heady mix of high and low speed corners. Look out for the high downforce arc of turn 3, the 2 DRS zones, and the chicane at turns 14 and 15. Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks like for today's race. Robinson lines up on pole position, and starting next to them is George Russell. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Verstappen, Perez, Fernando Alonso, Hülkenberg, Bottas, Norris, Leclerc, Sainz, Oscar Piastri, Albon, Gasly, Zhou, Tsunoda, Ocon, Magnussen, Stroll, Sargent, De Vries, Hauger, and Enzo Fittipaldi. Which of these talented drivers will come out on top today?
Nothing for Alex Jakes to say on this occasion, and that means I doubt we're going to be on the grid for very long before we get into the start phase.
After the points finished last race, let's aim to keep that momentum going.
And what I said there during that point was completely useless. But anyway, it's time for us to get into the Spanish Grand Prix. We're going to be starting from pole position. No penalties applied. Can we do the impossible here? I need to make sure I warm up the tyres, and we will see if we can keep reigning world champion George Russell, two-time world champion Max Verstappen, very fast Red Bull driver, current leading the championship Perez, and two-time world champion Alonso behind us. It's not going to be easy by any stretch of the imagination, but if it wasn't easy, there wouldn't be any point doing it. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to this challenge of keeping 4 world championship contenders behind me as we get ready to go now, as the lights come on. And the lights go out, and we've had a good getaway compared to George Russell. You can see I don't think anyone is going to be piling any pressure on me down into turn 1. Max Verstappen actually has already jumped George Russell there, and he is up into P2, but I don't think he's going to be quite close enough to me to mount a challenge into turn 1. So we lead through the first few corners here at the Spanish Grand Prix, but that is probably going to be the easiest part of the entire race. I wouldn't be surprised if Max Verstappen was already challenging me towards the end of this lap. One thing's for certain, this is not going to be a race where I pull away. That became immediately obvious to me as soon as we got away. I realised that, you know, clearly these guys have a bit more pace than me. You know, Max Verstappen has closed the gap, and through every sort of straight section, through most corners, he's always closing the gap to me. You can see that the gap is already down to just over 1/10, and I'm struggling through these corners quite a lot. So as we come on the run down to turn 10, I believe this is, we had to burn quite a bit of battery to keep him behind. I'm really struggling through the corners at the moment. On the formation lap, I was really struggling to warm up the tyres, which is why I was struggling through the corners so much initially. But now the tyres have started to get up to temperature a little bit. We should hopefully have a better run through the corners. I have to remember that the car is very heavy at the moment because we've got a full tank of fuel basically. So yeah, there's a lot to consider as to why my race pace might not be as good as my quali pace. And yeah, one of them could be that we need to improve our fuel efficiency. Another one could just simply be that we, you know, we don't run quite as well with the mediums compared to the softs or something like that. I don't really know what the solution to that would be. Probably chassis upgrades, I would imagine. We do have the worst chassis on the grid, which you know, makes sense why we might be struggling. But lap 3, you can see we're coming under a lot of pressure from Max Verstappen here now, and yeah, it's going to take a lot for me to try and keep him behind as we come around the final corner and begin lap 4 now. You can see Alonso has set the fastest lap of the race. He's a little bit further behind, which makes it clear to me that we are heading up a bit of a train here as George Russell now tries to get involved up the inside at turn 1, but as we go through turn 2, we do manage to just about keep him behind, and that means that we have retained P1 for the time being, but I don't think that's the last we're going to see of Russell. He's going to try and go up. We're inside at turn 4 here as well, and we are almost wheel to wheel. I'm just keeping a little bit ahead of him for the time being, and that has allowed me to retain the lead of the race, but I really don't see how I'm possibly going to hold on to this with the pace that we're showing right now. It's clear to me that Russell is faster than me, Verstappen is faster than me, Perez is faster than me, Alonso is faster than me, and probably Hulkenberg as well, actually, because he's on the back of this train as well. Maybe everyone else we might be able to just about keep behind, but yeah, I definitely think there's at least 5 drivers right now who are faster than me. One of those is George Russell, who has now completed an overtake for the lead, and so we led the Spanish Grand Prix for 4 laps, but in the end, we just did not have the pace to hold on to it. So we're going to have to wait a little bit longer, I think, to win our first race in Formula 1. I mean, obviously, it's a long race ahead. Maybe there'll be some chances to get back past him. We have managed to stay just around his DRS range for now, but we're not actually in it, and that has allowed Verstappen to get past us as well. And I think that is our chances of getting a win here pretty much over at this point, if I had to guess. I think Verstappen now is going to try and put the moves on George Russell on account of the fact that he does have a faster car. There was a message there that kind of got garbled due to the speed up, but that was saying that Norris has a problem, not that it really affects me. He's a bit far behind anyway, so it's not really a massive deal. Yeah, here comes Sergio Perez now, and again, I'm just becoming a bit of a sitting duck in a straight line now. Fernando Alonso looks like he's going to try and make a move up my inside here as well as we go through the first couple of corners. He doesn't quite make it stick on this occasion, but maybe now as we move on to the start of lap 11, he will be able to make the move stick Who knows? We're going wheel to wheel. I'm going to try and move him a little bit wide so we can hopefully have a bit of a battle here. And we end up making a tiny bit of contact there. I don't think either of us got damage from that. I certainly didn't, and I don't think he did either. But either way, yeah. I think he just maybe thought I was going to give him a bit more room than I ended up doing, and he went a bit deep into the corner. So, yeah, not really my fault, I don't think. Just a bit of an incident. But he does eventually get past me on lap 13 anyway. So, yeah, it doesn't really need to be something that we worry too hard about, that we might have ruined his race. He did eventually get through, and he's up into P4. And we're down into P5, so yeah, it's looking like it is potentially going to be a repeat of China at the moment. So in the end, what I ended up doing, I'm going for a bit of a risk here. I am going to box 2 laps early, and we're going to try and utilize the fact that the undercut is very powerful in this year's game to hopefully overtake Perez, Alonso, and maybe even Russell and Verstappen as well. So yeah, that is potentially something that's going to help us overtake these guys, and then maybe we'll get overtaken again, maybe we won't, who knows. But at least it will put us in potentially a better position for the race. That's maybe me being a little bit optimistic, I don't know, but we'll see as we exit the pits now. We had a good stop on the hard compound tyres. We are going to try and pull off an undercut on Alonso, Russell, Verstappen and Perez. We'll see if it's possible. You can see 3 of them are into the pits now. I believe that's Verstappen, Russell and Alonso, and also Hulkenberg, but we were ahead of him anyway. We do come out ahead of Hulkenberg, but we don't come out ahead of any of the other cars that we were trying to overtake. So this was an absolutely failed undercut, if ever you've seen one. Perez is still running, so there is a chance that we might be able to undercut him still. But either way, this is not what I was hoping for whatsoever, and yeah, we do try and find a way past Alonso, but we just can't quite seem to do it. We're going to try and look up his inside here. Slams the door shut on us, and that is the end of my undercut hopes. And the best position I can possibly hope for now is going to be P4. We'll see whether we can undercut Perez or not, but either way, this is not what I was hoping for whatsoever. Here we go now onto the end of lap 17, moving on to the start of lap 18. Sergio Perez into the pits along with a Ferrari of Sainz and Bottas in the Mercedes. We do come out ahead of Perez, actually quite comfortably ahead of Perez. So yeah, we are P4 for the time being. Verstappen comfortably leading the race now as Pierre Gasly sets the fastest lap there. But on lap 21 you can see Alonso has it as Perez has caught us, and he is going to be making his way back through and into P5. And my goodness, what a underwhelming strategy in the end. You know, I thought to myself, maybe we've got a real chance of doing something cool here, but it wasn't meant to be. However, we do stay within his DRS range as we move on to lap 22 now, and we're going to maybe look for a move around the outside at turn 1. Are we going to pull it off? Yes, we are, and we are back up into P4, so maybe there's hope for us yet. I want to try and stay ahead of him if I can, but I think that's going to be easier said than done. Finishing the race is going to be easier said than done for this man, Oscar Piastri, as he becomes the first retirement of the Spanish Grand Prix. Not a good weekend for him by any stretch of the imagination, and yeah, it's disappointment for him. McLaren having a bit of a difficult season this season compared to where they've been in previous years. They're not one of the fastest cars on the grid, especially considering I believe Norris has had a win or two. I know he had the win at Mexico last year. You can see that Perez has overtaken me once again, and this time I think I'm just going to have to let him go, to be honest with you. But I accidentally go quite wide at turn 3. And that allows Valtteri Bottas into the equation as well. We're going to try and see if we can stay with him as we go round the outside. You can see, get a notification that Oscar Piastri is out of the session, but we're still going wheel to wheel now as we move through the next few corners, turns 4 and 5. And I mean, he's still keeping his foot in even now, and he's trying to go around the outside at turn 6 as we go through turn 6, 7 and 8. On this occasion, he doesn't quite managed to make the move stick, but goodness me, what an intense battle there. Lap 24/5. Oh my god, I tried to say 4 and 5 at the same time there. It didn't go well. Lap 25, you can see that Valtteri Bottas has tried to overtake me, and you can see that Hulkenberg is also getting interested now, and he is not quite going to make the move stick, but Valtteri Bottas has managed to make the move into P5, and we are down to P6. And at this point, I'm just trying to cling on to the points if I can. Kevin Magnussen has managed to work his way up from P17 to P9, so he's had a very, very good race so far, and I wonder if he'll be trying to challenge me by the end of the race as well if I get overtaken by his teammate and also Carlos Sainz in the Ferrari. You can see that, yeah, it is Hülkenberg now making a move up into P6, that is, and I'm down into P7. Carlos Sainz also potentially thinking about making a move. At this point, I'm just really struggling. I don't know what's going on. Maybe it's the gearbox wear that I've experienced, but I don't really think that that's a huge deal, you know? I wouldn't imagine that that would make too much of a difference. We've got Sainz now looking up the inside at turn 4 as well. I'm trying to remember which corner number that was. We go a little bit wide, and that allows Sainz through. And yeah, at this point, we're just going to be lucky to cling on to the points at all. You've got Stroll and Gasly battling over P10, so I definitely think I'll be able to hold on to at least P9. But as we move on to lap 29 now, you can see that Magnussen isn't really closing me down, so I think P8 is going to be the minimum we get in this race. But there's a battle brewing between Sainz and Hülkenberg in front, and maybe that is going to allow me to make up some of these positions. Who knows? You can see that Sainz gets squeezed a little bit wide on turn 3. We almost go into the back of him. We're very lucky not to. But now we're piling the pressure on him. We're going to try and go up the inside at turn 4. And we just about managed to make the move. He doesn't keep his foot in, and that allows us to get back up into P7. So maybe we're actually coming alive a little bit at the end of the race here, even though we're running out of battery and we're running out of time to really make much of an impact. I think the last person we're going to be able to overtake here, if we can overtake anyone, is going to be Nico Hülkenberg. But we have stayed with him, and with the DRS, with the last little bit of battery that we've got, we are going to make the move back into P6, and maybe there exists a small chance of us holding on to this P6 for the last 4 laps of the race. It's a little bit too early to call, but you can see now as I move onto the final lap of the Grand Prix, Hülkenberg and Sainz are yet to overtake me still. As long as we can keep them behind through this last DRS zone, I don't think the run from turn 9 to turn 10 is really going to be a place where they're going to be able to overtake me unless I have an absolutely shocking run through turn 9. I think that it's just going to be us to hold on now for the remainder of the race. You can see that Hülkenberg does actually get close. He gets the gap down to just below 0.2, but it's not quite going to be enough, and I think we're going to be all right. Max Verstappen is round the final corner. He crosses the line to take P1. It's going to be Alonso and then Russell in P3, and then yeah, the wingmen Perez and Bottas coming home to take P4 and 5. We round the final corner, and we are going to be taking P6. And it wasn't a great race, given that we started on pole, but given that our race pace still leaves a lot to be desired, I am not too displeased with that result. Another 8 points on the board. Maybe that will move us up in the Constructors' Championship. I am going to take that result and run with it.
Another Spanish Grand Prix is over then, and what a special race it was. So, Natalie, what made the difference out there today?
Well, they managed their tyres to absolute perfection. A tyre whisperer, in fact. And that is what set them apart.
Red Bull put up an outstanding fight for the front position today, and it's great to see it paid off for them. They do so much for the sport that you can't help but be delighted by today's race win.
Well, I can say with pretty certain confidence that I am not delighted with this win for Verstappen. Because I wanted to win the race, and unfortunately we did not have the pace to do that, but it's still quite sad. Alonso and Russell make up the rest of the podium, and yeah, I mean, this championship battle is getting interesting now between Verstappen and Perez. I think that's what it's going to come down to. Perez in P4 on this occasion, after having a strong run of form. Maybe the pressure's starting to get to him. He couldn't even make the podium this time.
And after this round of the World Championship, here's how things look in the drivers' table. That lead at the top of the table has shrunk somewhat today. Let's focus on driver of the day, Natalie Pinkham. Come on, who do you pick?
Max Verstappen seemed to just effortlessly weave through the other drivers today without a care in the world. He was definitely my driver of choice.
It's time to see how things are shaping up in the Constructors' Championship. Red Bull pull further ahead in the standings. Meanwhile, good work from the owner-drivers team this weekend, who pushed themselves further up the order. Well, that certainly was an exciting weekend of Formula One. Be sure to join us for more exciting Formula One action very soon.
So we've worked our way up into P7 in the Constructors' Championship, and we're only 8 points behind Alpine now, who are having a difficult run of form, I would say, in these last few races. They're really struggling to score points. Ever since Gasly got that podium at Miami, it's not really been smooth sailing for them. And yeah, hopefully this means that we will be able to continue to close them down even further and maybe get ahead of them. I think catching Ferrari and Haas and those teams is going to be easier said than done. I think Haas are actually third in the Constructors right now, so I don't even know who's in fourth. I think it's Mercedes maybe, because you know, Haas are having a really strong season. Maybe Haas have moved back down into P4 in the Constructors now. I'm not sure. But yeah, it's looking like a really good season. Maybe Haas's best ever season in Formula 1. I mean, they've had a win and a P2 in Baku and Monaco respectively. So if they can keep up that level of performance, then who knows? Maybe they really are going in the right direction. They've got 2 strong drivers behind the wheel, 2 of my favourite drivers on the whole Formula 1 grid. So perhaps it's not a surprise to see them doing well when they have a driver lineup that's that strong, and to see them developing so much as well when they've got such an experienced driver lineup. It kind of makes sense when you think about it like that you know, you got 2 dudes who are in their sort of early to mid 30s. They would be helping the team develop quite a lot. I don't know with us what the development of the car is going to look like. It seems like money is our limiting factor at the moment, so maybe I'm going to have to try and opt for some slightly more aggressive sponsorship targets at the next contract renewal. If we get rid of the one that aims for P15 in qualifying, and maybe start looking for one that asks us to score a certain number of points each weekend, maybe we can start aiming for top 8 finishes. Because Lord knows, like I need to do more to get more money on board than we're doing at the moment. I think going for that P6 championship, P6 Constructors Championship target was a smart move, because it means that we're going to be getting a lot of money coming in, and I do genuinely believe that we will retain just enough pace to be able to hold on to P6 in the championship if we can get there. We just need a good few races in the coming weeks, hopefully. And you know, there are some strong tracks coming up for me now. Yes, Canada's next, and that's not one of my favourites, but I do think we scored a few points there last season, if I remember correctly. So hopefully we can do the same this season. And then we've got the likes of Austria, Britain, maybe not so much Hungary, but then you know, you got your Belgium, Zandvoort, all those tracks, and I really do think that I can score points at basically all of these tracks coming up if I really try and put everything I have into the drive. There is every chance in the world that we'll be able to score points at all of them, and maybe we can finally make our way into P6 in the Constructors' Championship. Who knows? But that is going to be it for this video. If you enjoyed, please make sure you like and subscribe, and hopefully I will see you in the next one.